The death of one's only child, a grieving father and a corruption-ridden system. This is the harrowing story of BPCL's former CFO K. Sivakumar from Bengaluru. Let's get you more details on this. Now, a father who says he was met not with compassion but corruption while mourning his daughter. Now, Sivakumar here lost his only child, a 34-year-old Akshaya, in IIT Madras and IIM Ahmedabad alumna, working with the Goldman Sachs on September 18th. But even in his darkest hour, he alleged that every step of the process was marred by greed and apathy. In a LinkedIn post titled "The Sad State of Affairs When One Loses Their Dear One," Sivakumar recounts being asked for bribes at every stage, from an ambulance driver demanding about 3,000 rupees to move his daughter's body, to police officers and crematorium staff openly seeking money. He says even when obtaining a death certificate, BBMP officials allegedly demanded extra payments after several days of delay. Now, expressing his anguish, Sivakumar wrote that what will poor people do? Do the police have family or feelings to demand a bribe when someone is already in trauma? Though he later deleted these posts from LinkedIn. But the incident sparked a widespread outrage, with many calling his ordeal a reflection of India's systemic rot. A story that exposes how, even in grief, citizens must fight a system that seems to have forgotten its humanity. It's a horrifying story that has come to light. In fact, in this case, an ex-CFO has shared his story about how, while he was grieving his daughter's death, he had to go through multiple stages just to have her daughter a respectable goodbye. Now, this is the story that has come to light about BPCL's former CFO K. Sivakumar. He shared his horrifying ordeal that he had to go through on LinkedIn. Now, these posts have been deleted, but of course, this story has caused massive outrage. Now, Sivakumar lost his only daughter, and now he shared a post titled the Sad State of Affairs When One Loses Their Dear One. In this post, he recounts being asked for bribes at every stage, from an ambulance driver demanding rupees 3,000 to move his daughter's body, to police officers and crematorium staff openly seeking money. He says that even when obtaining a death certificate for his daughter, BBMP officials allegedly demanded extra payment, and this is after several days of delay. Further expressing his anguish, he also wrote that what will poor people do? Do the police have family or feelings to demand bribe when someone is already in trauma? Although he later deleted all of his posts, the incident has sparked a widespread outrage, with many calling his ordeal a reflection of India's systemic rot. People are calling out this story and saying that this exposes how, even in grief, citizens must fight a system that seems to have forgotten its humanity. So clearly a very disturbing incident coming to light, where a father who was in mourning, who was grieving his daughter, had to bribe officials to give a respectable goodbye, a farewell to his daughter. In fact, the bribes were demanded at every stage, from an ambulance driver to police officials and to also administrative authorities. He shared his account now on LinkedIn posts, which of course he later deleted. But the incident has sparked a major outrage over the kind of system we are living in, over the kind of systemic corruption that has now plagued India's structures at different levels. In fact, Sivakumar in his post also wrote that what will poor people do? Do the people have family or feelings to demand a bribe when someone is already in trauma? Now, my colleague Gautam Shankar is joining me with more details on this. Gautam, it's clearly a very horrifying incident. A system that's supposed to help you at a time of grief was in fact failing this guy called Sivakumar when he wanted to give a respectable farewell to his daughter. Give us more details with the kind of levels we are seeing that greed has now in fact risen to.
Absolutely, a very shocking case of civic apathy, and even from the police coming to light from Bangalore, where the Bharat Petroleum former CFO has shared this heartbreaking post of his daughter's death, and he's highlighted how right from the ambulance driver to even getting the death certificate to even the police. After the postmortem, all of them have been demanding bribes, and he's asked the right question: What will the common man or the what will the poor people do here? And what we understand is that the latest in this case is that two Bangalore police officers from the Bengaluru police station have now been suspended. And basically, this action has been taken after this post by the former CFO of Bharat Petroleum has gone viral, and it exposed the sort of corruption with even completing his daughter's death formalities. And this is an issue that thousands of common men go through every day, and whereas it's a very somber moment where they want to go through the grieving process, and just they are looking at help from the government and civic officials to get over this. But here we have these civic officials from different parts of the civic body demanding bribes. And what we now understand is that the police have now stepped in. The Whitefield Deputy Commissioner of Police has suspended a sub-inspector and a constable following the kind of public outcry over these bribe claims that have come to light. And the what we understand is that the sub-inspector has been identified as Santosh, and another constable identified as Gorakhnath have been now suspended for allegedly demanding bribes from the grieving family here. But also we need to point out here that this goes beyond just the police department. Now the BBMP has to answer here as well, and we'll also see if some action is being taken. And we are closely tracking all the developments that are taking place in this particular story here.
Right, Gautam, it's clearly a case of corruption and indifference from the system that's supposed to help a man. But as you said that the police has now taken action, but do we have any statement coming in from the administrative body who also acted in a very unsympathetic manner in this case?
Absolutely. So we are trying to reach out to them, but one particular incident that Sivakumar has spoken about is that he wasn't able to get the formalities done because several of the BBP officials were involved in the caste survey process. Now this is deeply disturbing, just because
All
several
right.
of the
Just to, sorry to interrupt you there, but we have a breaking news coming in where the News9's impact is now visible on the ground. In this case, in fact, the one we're talking about, two Bengaluru cops have been suspended, as you mentioned, Gautam, just a while before. And it is a big impact that News9, in fact, has made on the ground with regards to this case. We have been talking about this ever since this story came to light. And now it seems that police have sprung into action. Two cops have been suspended. So give us more details on this, that how this action is now turning into actual impact on the ground.
Absolutely, because keep in mind this particular post by Sivakumar, he actually recalled how the police officials were actually rude to him, and he pointed out this inspector as well, and he also spoke about his juniors, the junior police officials as well. They were not really cooperative with the postmortem process as well, and Sivakumar actually has gone on to highlight in that particular post, since the police had to give a copy of the FIR and post-mortem report. He met them, and even after 4 days, they did not really give him the post-mortem report, and openly demanded cash. And he said that he actually went ahead and paid this amount as well. And he actually went on to question whether police officials have any sort of family or feeling when they demand money or speak rudely to a person when they are actually in trauma and in emotional turmoil following the loss of their loved one. And this particular post goes on to highlight this, and he also says that it was only because he received help from a senior official and he had contacts that he was able to get this process done. And he also went on to say that there was no CCTV that was installed while or in the area when these police officials were accepting bribe as well. And he also goes on to say that the sub-inspector spoke so nicely and signed the above documents and gave it to him only after intervention from a higher official. And later on, he was asked to meet this police sub-inspector's assistant where the bribe was demanded as well. So goes on to show that this sort of corruption is very systemic, it goes very deep, and it is not limited to one particular sort of department as well. It's the police, it's the ambulance, it's the BBMP's department where they issue death certificates. All of them keep demanding bribes, and this goes on to make this whole grieving process painful, even more painful than it needs to be for the family. And it's good to note that the police officials have now been suspended. Now we'll also have to wait and watch if BBMP is going to take similar action against some of the officials who have actually put Sivakumar through this sort of emotional trauma here, Ishita.
Right, clearly it's a big impact that News9's coverage on the story has made on the ground. About two cops have been suspended, and we're still awaiting action from BBMP on this. But Gautam, I want to ask you, as you mentioned that it's not just one institution that's involved in this. You have the ambulance driver, you have the BBMP officials, and you also have the police getting involved in this. So what does this incident also tell us about the way we are headed as a society?
Absolutely, because if you see the social media posts as well here, Ishita, there's a lot of outrage asking the same question because all of them are talking about this experience of Sivakumar, and they are speaking out about how someone from their family or someone that their friends and relatives have gone through a similar sort of turmoil. But the common man, what do? They just keep quiet. They pay the price because they want to get these formalities done as quickly as possible, because these families are grieving, and we have these kind of predators preying on this sort of tragedy that the family is going through. And it was also good to note that Sivakumar had actually tagged people like Narayan Murthy, Azim Premji, Kiran Mazumdar Shah, saying that can these bigwigs with billions of money, can they save the city, is what he had asked. But the bigwigs can pay their way out. But what about the common man? And this is an issue that needs to be taken up seriously by the state government. And keep in mind that in Bangalore, the civic body, that is the BBMP, is not even an elected body. So there is no accountability. There is no one asking questions. There is no sort of pointing the blame at someone, because who's going to ask them questions here? And that is the big question when you don't have an elected civic body, and then the Greater Bengaluru Authority is yet to be formed. So the question of accountability remains absent, and that basically sort of emboldens these sort of criminals to engage in these sort of activities, and that needs to be checked at the earliest here, Ishita.